Hello, you join me here at Cornbrook stop on the Manchester Metrolink in Zone 1 for the third episode of my Secrets of the Manchester Metrolink. In this series, I'm going to every single Manchester Metrolink stop and looking at the secrets and facts which you may not have known about. In today's episode, I'm looking at the stops from here at Cornbrook all the way to Altrincham.
But first, let's look at the history of the Altrincham line. The line was originally built by the Manchester South Junction and Altrincham Railway, which was given royal assent in July 1845 for a line west of Deansgate towards Altrincham, with this line opening in July of 1849. By the early 20th century, the line was under joint control of the London North Western Railway and the Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Railway, later the Great Central Railway, with both companies frequently clashing over their operations and policies. In the early 20th century, increasing tram usage threatened passenger numbers on the line, with the line in 1931 being electrified to 1500 volts DC overhead standard, with 22 new 3-car Class 505s constructed to wooden bodies with no corridors and third class, making the trains quite old-fashioned. But additional stations added to the line and electrification did reduce journey times and improve journeys overall. Unfortunately, by the 1960s, the line was in decline, with most express services withdrawn and all 4 track sections reduced to double track as traffic fell. In the 1970s, British Rail began to replace the outdated 1500 volt DC overhead electrification to 25 kilovolt AC overhead electrification, with the line being re-electrified from Altrincham up to Manchester Oxford Road, connecting onto the newly electrified line all the way to Crewe. Minimal change occurred from hereby in until the 1990s, when the line was confirmed to be part of the new Metrolink line, from Altrincham to Bury through the city centre, which would be a light rail tram system, with the last British Rail heavy rail service running on Christmas Eve 1991, with Metrolink services beginning in June 1992 from Altrincham to Bury. Metrolink decided to retain a lot of the old infrastructure from the old heavy rail days, including old gantries and masts, but switched the electrification to 750 volt DC overhead electric operation. And that brings us to today, with services every 6 minutes from Altrincham towards Manchester. Now though, let's return to me at Cornbrook, where we'll depart to head to our first stop along the line of Trafford Bar.
Right then, now we've looked at the history of this line and the conversion to Metrolink, let's go to the first stop of Trafford Bar. Right, hello, you join me here at Trafford Bar stop on the Metrolink. This is the first stop out of Cornbrook on the Altrincham lines, the East Didsbury and the Manchester Airport lines. And it is a junction for the Manchester Airport and East Didsbury lines. And just outside the stop, there's like a fly under which the trams towards East Didsbury and Manchester Airport take. And then from there on, you're just on the Altrincham line. Now the name of Trafford Bar actually comes from Chester Road nearby, which had an old toll, and that was where the name Trafford Bar came from. It opened as a railway station in July of 1849 by the Manchester South Junction and Altrincham Railway, and is pretty close to Old Trafford Cricket Ground and the White City Retail Park. Under British Rail, it was originally called as Old Trafford, with the current day Old Trafford Metrolink stop being known as Warwick Road Old Trafford, despite that stop being much closer to Old Trafford than this stop was. However, when Metrolink came around in 1992, Old Trafford here became Trafford Bar, and Warwick Road Old Trafford became just Old Trafford. Even though it's not the closest stop to the cricket ground, because it sees more trams, the Manchester Airport and East Didsbury trams, this makes it a good stop for cricket fans, and Metrolink do persuade you to use this stop rather than the actual Old Trafford cricket ground stop, because there's more capacity for trams at this stop, and there is like turnstiles and infrastructure over there for match day fans. The former station building up there is sadly abandoned. However, at the very top of it is like engravings which say railway station, and you can see where the old staircase would have been and would have led down to the platforms. This stop is located pretty close to 2 parks, Seymour and Hullard Park, whilst it's geographically pretty close to Pomona stop. It's like a mile away, but it's like a half-an-hour walk because of the paths and stuff. But yeah, there is a lot of signs of the old railway station here. There's an abandoned platform. Of course, there's the old station building. It's quite nice. The entrances have been moved to either side, and there's been ramps installed to allow for disabled passengers to use the stop. All the stops on Metrolink are step-free, and that was one of the requirements when constructed in the 1990s. So, of course, you couldn't use the old station building because you couldn't fit lifts in, so they used side entrances instead, and the station building has now fallen to being abandoned, which is kind of sad, but at least it's still here. Apart from that, it's quite a basic stop. There's not too much to say about it. However, there is a tram here, which we can get to the next stop of Old Trafford, which is much more interesting because, well, there's a cricket ground right outside it. Let's go. Right, well, hello from Old Trafford Metrolink stop. I don't probably need to explain what is here. First, you have the cricket ground. Of course, very famous cricket ground. We'll get into that in a second. What is going on? It's a Saturday morning. Why are you doing construction work? But yeah, of course, this stop is for the cricket ground, Lancashire cricket. I think England have played here a few times. It's hosted like a few World Cups. It's one of the big, I think it's the second biggest cricket ground in the UK, and it's very important in the history of cricket as well. I think I've read somewhere that the bowl of the century happened here in 1993 in the Ashes. That's all I know. I'm not a cricket fan, if I'm being honest with you. I don't really know much about cricket, but I know Old Trafford is a big cricket ground, and this is what this stop serves. It is also relatively close to the football ground where Manchester United play, although I'm going to cover that. I'm going to go to the stadium in another episode here, because there are tram stops which are closer to Old Trafford, the football ground. So this one will just cover the cricket ground. It's a very interesting stop, actually. Firstly, it is one of the only stops on the line which can house 4 trams, so you can have 2 double trams stacked together. That's why the platforms are so long, because on match days, I guess they run, well, you can like double stack trams basically, or well, quadruple stack technically. But yeah, it's one of the rare occasions where that happens. The platforms here are incredibly wide, because of course it needs to be wide for event days. Now, the railway station here on the site opened under the name of just Cricket Ground in 1862 and went through several name changes. It was known as Old Trafford in brackets, so Cricket Ground Old Trafford. It was known as the Cricket and Football Grounds in 1910, very original names these, and then Warwick Road in 1931 before getting its current name in 1992, as aforementioned. The station also was used during the Royal Agricultural Society event days and the Royal Jubilee exhibition to celebrate Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee, with there being temporary platforms added and the station being renamed to Exhibition during the period. It is worth noting that there are some abandoned platforms just over there. I'm not sure if they were passenger platforms or goods yards, or I'm not sure what they were used for, but there are abandoned platforms over there, which I'll get a shot of in a second. Now, in 2009, the northbound platform, the Manchester-bound platform, was built a little bit further back, a little bit further south, to allow for there to be a little redevelopment of the stop. Beforehand, there was an underpass which passengers used, and that could get quite congested during event days. So instead, they put in a foot crossing, which was quite wide, had you know, wheelchairs and prams and everything could get over it, and it allowed for a greater capacity and greater number of people to exit the stop. It was also in 2009 when the original turnstiles were replaced. If you look behind me here, there's all this like fencing and cattle pen queuing systems, and before that there was like these pretty original like sort of turnstile, brick turnstile building where passengers would have during match days brought their tickets and things. However, in 2009 this was destroyed and replaced by the cattle grid fencing queuing system that you see before me. The stop is also extremely close to a tram depot. Literally just behind this fence here is the Trafford tram depot, where they keep a lot of the trams, of course, on the Altrincham line and I assume the Manchester Airport and East Didsbury lines. So this is where, a bit like Queen's Park, if you remember in my second episode of Secrets of the Metrolink, this is where a lot of staff use this stop as a sort of getting to the depot and getting from the depot and whatnot. So this stop is heavily used by staff as well. However, that is about it for Old Trafford tram stop. A lot of history. Of course, you've got the cricket ground and you've got these pretty unique platform layout. It is staggered and of course they're extremely wide, and you've got some history with abandoned platforms over there. Now though, it's time to go to the next stop along the line of Stretford. Hello, you join me in the car park at Stretford stop, mostly because Stretford's actually quite a busy stop. I didn't actually realise, but very busy. Now, I only know Stretford from Old Trafford. The football ground has the Stretford end, and that's where I knew it before doing research for this video. But there are a few interesting things about the station. First of all, a lot of abandoned platform, which for some reason has Metrolink signage on it. They've like decided, you know, we're going to put some Metrolink signage on this abandoned platform which never gets used. Fair enough. But a bit of basic information about the stop. It opened as a railway station in 1849, being known as Edge Lane. I think that's the road that it sits on, is Edge Lane. But that name only lasted 2 months before Stretford became the name of the station, and that lasted all the way, even today, through Metrolink. The area itself is located next to several large green areas, including Stretford Meadows, Chorlton Eels Nature Reserve and Longford Park. And it's also nearby to the Bridgewater Canal, which follows us from here at Stretford all the way to Timperley near Altrincham. And it was the first canal in Britain to be called a cross-country, which meant it didn't really follow any rivers or anything like that. It was completely built from scratch. And the canal played a big part of why this line to Altrincham was built and why the areas around Altrincham are where they are. There's one very interesting fact about this stop, and that is what is here right below my feet. Now the platform here at Stretford is incredibly wide, the southbound platform, so the northbound platform towards Manchester, very wide, and that is because this whole section of the line, when it was under heavy rail days, used to be quadruple track, but this platform, for some reason at Stretford, they were like, so it was 4 track, and then they were like, okay, we're going to reduce it to 2 track, but we're going to keep the platform width from when it was 4 track. So the middle platform, which would have been the island platform, has been kept as wide as it would have been when it had 4 tracks. I don't know why they just didn't make it a normal length width platform, but you can also see just here there's like platform slabs from where the old 3rd platform would have been, and then somewhere where these cars are is where platform 4 would have been, and you can clearly see where the tracks would have gone because the station building, which is now a newsagent's, has like a little bit underneath it, a gap from where 2 trains and 2 tracks would have run. So you can clearly tell here that this would have been 4 platform station once upon a time. And here you can actually see the edge of the platform, so that is where platform 3 would have been. And then if I zoom in here, there's a tram coming in, but you can just see there where the old tracks would have gone under the station building. Very interesting stuff. Probably like top 10 attractions in Stretford. This trolley is probably like number 2. It's also worth noting that here on the southbound platform towards Altrincham, there's like this weird brick structure which feels as though there should have been like an old building or something there, but today there's just a bin bag blowing in the breeze, so I have no idea what used to be there. Now though, let's go to the next stop along the line of Dane Road. Hello, welcome to Dane Road tram stop here in the Sale region of Manchester. Now, this station opened a little bit later than most of the stations on the line in 1931, which was when the line was first originally electrified. Now this was to encourage more passengers to use the newly electrified line over the conventional trams and new buses. Now here it is extremely clear and obvious to see where the old 3rd and 4th platform would have been and where the railways would have gone under this bridge, literally here. It's also worth noting that there is an old station building up there, which was taken out of use in, I believe, 2009 and replaced by another entrance, which I believe is an original entrance, but they just decided not to use the station building anymore. There's like an old walkway up there where you would have left from the station building. And I was wondering, why was the station building taken out of use? And then you walk up to it, you see this old teal door, which is the old Metrolink colours, and then the sign which says asbestos warning. So I wonder if that's why the building was taken out of use. Maybe they found asbestos and it's too costly to repair. So if it's not needed, why use it? Now, I mentioned that the step fiestas are all Metrolink stops, and that is true. But here at Dane Road, the lift seems to have been out of use for quite some time. It's literally boarded up. There is also, like a lot of the stops on this line, abandoned platform. There just seem to be some like abandoned like poles which maybe held up street lamps or signs or something. I'm not too sure, but there looks to be some like old infrastructure, and there are, just here, there is like this mirror, although I'm not sure if this is used by Metrolink drivers. I don't think it is. I think that might be from British Rail days, when drivers would have looked to check that the platform was clear or not. But I'm not sure if did they not have guards on these trains during British Rail? I'm not sure. Somebody can let me know in the comments if Metrolink drivers use those screens or not. I don't think they do, but you can tell me if I'm wrong. Anyway, I'm going to get a tram to the next stop along the line of Sale itself.
Honey, 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 honey.
Hello, you join me at Sale Stop. I'm outside the cycle hub here, which is a repurposed old station building turned into a secure cycle storage, which is great to see. Now, Sale is probably one of the busiest stations on the Altrincham line, opening in 1849 by John Brodgen, who was a local builder. The name of Sale was actually changed to Sale Moor in 1856. And then Sale and Ashton on Mersey in 1883, before reverting back eventually to Sale in 1931, keeping that name when transferring to Metrolink operations in 1992. The stop here is directly in the town centre, and August 2009 saw much of the old station infrastructure blocked off. So the old station building used to be used as the entrance. Now though, you have to use side entrances, and the booking office was closed, the station building was closed, but the platform canopies were completely reconstructed, and they look amazing. This is one of the most pretty Metrolink stops in my opinion. It just looks fabulous. And the original staircases are still used by Metrolink. It's just the fact that the station building isn't used as an entrance or exit. Now, the stop here was used in the PES 2 game, which is a football game, in 2002. For some reason, the title of the game featured a shot of Sale Metrolink stop. I've watched it. I don't really know what the context is behind it, but whatever. It's a weird, trivial fact. Sale itself is home to around 62,000 people, actually more than Altrincham. And it was the Bridgewater Canal and its arrival in 1765 which sort of made the town grow, and this sort of whole area of Sale and Altrincham became a sort of middle and upper class commuter area for people who could afford to live outside of Manchester and then commute in on the railways into Manchester for their work. Which is why the Sale and Altrincham area is some of the most desired areas to live in. The stop itself is directly in the town centre, as I mentioned, and that means it's by the Waterside Arts Centre, which contains a theatre, a local library, several galleries, and the town centre does seem quite nice. The next thing you're going to see is a tram pulling into Sale, going to the next stop along the line of Brooklands. Hello from here at Brooklands. There's not a huge amount to say about this stop. Firstly, it's very close to Sale. Literally, you can see Sale Station from this stop here. It is extremely, extremely close. And that's why there's not too much to say about it. It's not in a hugely interesting location. It's just sort of a residential estate south of Sale. The station here opened in December of 1859, converting to Metrolink, of course, in 1992. It has the common features of a lot of the stops on this line, the beautiful old station buildings, which is the station building was still in use until 2010. Another part of the station building is now a pub, and then you've got this old retaining wall here, which has a brilliant canopy, which looks as though it's probably been redone a few times since conversion to Metrolink. It is a very nice stop here, I must say, and there's old railway signals down there as well, which aren't in use. There's one over here as well, which is when the line was in heavy rail use. It had proper aspect signals. Now though, they use I don't know what the technical term is, but they use tram signals. But yeah, not a huge amount to say about this stop. It does have the abandoned platforms, which a lot of the stops on this line tend to have. The station buildings here were Grade 2 listed in 1999, which is great to see. It's close to a cemetery and is close to Mawson Stadium, which is home of Sale's rugby and football clubs. Now though, there's a tram in 3 minutes, which I'm going to take to the next station, the penultimate station in today's video of Timperley. Hello, you join me here at Timperley. This stop opened as a railway station in 1849 before becoming a Metrolink stop in 1992. The stop here had used an original footbridge with a canopy and the original stairs, which were made out of wood. However, these were replaced in 2001, and the canopies and station building were taken out of use in 2009, when the stairs were completely rebuilt and the station building was turned into a station cafe instead. This stop is important because just south of here is when Metrolink relinquishes control over the tracks and hands it over to National Rail Network Rail, because it's at this point that the National Rail Network joins onto the Metrolink line to head into Altrincham and beyond towards Chester. So there is a turn-back siding here, just south of here, to allow for trams to terminate and turn back in case something happens on the National Rail Network just south of here. I did mention that the National Rail Network sort of joins onto the Metrolink network here. They're not exactly joined together. It's a single track National Rail Network and a single track Metrolink line running next to each other. So just south of here, the double track goes to single track because there's not enough room to run quadruple tracks here just south of Timperley towards Navigation Road. So yes, just south of here are two railway junctions. Deansgate Junction, which is nowhere near Deansgate Castlefield, and Skelton Junction. And these two junctions combined to create a quite complicated four-way junction linking several lines in the area, including the Altrincham Railway here and the Mid-Cheshire line towards Chester, as well as some abandoned lines towards Warrington and other locations. Most of these lines closed by 1985. The Mid-Cheshire line still remains open, and of course the Altrincham line is now the Metrolink line, which means that Deansgate Junction and Skelton Junctions don't really serve as a junction anymore, but Deansgate Junction is still officially listed as a junction because it's where the National Rail Network sort of joins onto the Metrolink and they run side by side. The reason that I'm on the road is another point that I want to talk about is just here is the Bridgewater Canal, which has been following us for quite a way. It's here that the Bridgewater Canal branches off from the Metrolink line and the railway line. Also, I think here at Timperley, this is where the award for the largest station shelter goes. For no apparent reason. I have no idea why the station shelter here is so long when there is already one just there, and then they're like, you know what, we're going to put this massive station shelter here on this side towards Altrincham. You have just a teeny weeny sort of bus stop shelter, but there must be a lot of people going into Manchester here who wait at this shelter. And do I need to say anything about the abandoned platforms? Of course I don't, you sort of expect them now. There's abandoned platforms here, who would have guessed? Now though, it's time to go on to the next stop, which is Navigation Road, which is a very interesting stop because that's where the Mid-Cheshire line joins the Metrolink line and they run parallel into Altrincham. Right, welcome to Navigation Road, where trains and trams meet. Did just see a train, got very lucky. They're only every hour in each direction from Manchester to Chester, so I got lucky to see that one. And we got a tram right next to it as well, which is great to see. But yeah, this stop slash station, I can say station this time, because it is a station. I'm actually on the station bit at the moment. So it is split into this side here, this track furthest from me, where the tram's about to come. That is tram platform for trams only, and then this platform which I'm on now is for northern trains and freight trains going towards Manchester or Chester, and obviously freight trains when they come around here. Now at Timperley, when we just left, we stayed for ages because the line goes to single track and we were waiting for a tram to pass, but there's a freight train coming actually. But it is also worth noting that we left the area of Metrolink control. There was a sign saying all Network Rail now controls these tracks. And this is where the Metrolink runs signal operations. So usually it's like, that is go, that is stop. But here it runs proper signals, so green, yellow, red, you know, the classic railway signals, which you'll be able to see above there. So they control Metrolink services and the National Rail services like this freight train. Anyway, as I was saying, from Altrincham through Navigation Road to Timperley, where we just were, is all Network Rail controlled, so it's all owned and operated by Network Rail. They maintain the tracks, they maintain the signals, and then at Timperley it goes to Metrolink control, and the signals are more tram-like signals. But yeah, it's a very weird layout this, the fact you can get trams and trains right next to each other. And this is why the station was quite important. It was sort of the junction station. You have Deansgate and Skelton junctions just past there, which were the lines towards Warrington and another place I can't remember. I'll put the name of it on screen. Now, this stop is quite a bottleneck stop, mostly because of the fact that it's just one platform and the trams run every 6 minutes. So that's on average a tram every 3 minutes, which is obviously quite a lot of vehicles to pass through a single track line. So that's why we did a lot of waiting around before Navigation Road. I'm sure you do a lot of waiting around if you're coming towards Manchester or Altrincham. There's a lot of vehicles using this track, just like this tram here. And it is quite an operational feat to be able to get trams running basically every 3 minutes, Monday to Saturday, on one platform. That's quite, fair enough. There's a level crossing down there, an old station building which hasn't been used in ages. I think it was a taxi company last. But yeah, the level crossing, it goes down a lot. It was down for about 10 minutes because of the amount of trams and then the trains, and you had the freight train, and they kept it down for all that period. But yeah, it's a weird station. It's like the fact that trains and trams go bi-directional right next to each other. And you've got a big junction just down there. And then here the tracks go back to 4-track to allow for trains and trams to pass each other on the approach to Altrincham, which is 4 platforms. So yeah, it's a pretty cool station, this. We'll just point out there's a bowls club here and like a pub. And then for some reason there is this speaker, which is Metrolink branded, despite it being on the Northern National Rail side. And then of course the catenary here, back before it was Metrolink, would have been electrified on both tracks. But yes, there's not a huge amount to say about Navigation Road that we haven't already covered. So let's go to the last station in today's video, the last stop / station. It's Altrincham, of course. Hello, you join me here at Altrincham station / Metrolink stop. Of course, it is the terminus of the Metrolink network on the Altrincham line, but like Navigation Road, it is an interchange with National Rail services towards Chester and Manchester Piccadilly, but it's a much bigger station. 4 platforms, 2 for Metrolink, 2 for Northern, and for freight services, etc. But yeah, much bigger station, and I really like it. It's such a cool station. There's these really nice old canopies. The original station buildings are all still in use. They've got a new footbridge now. There's an abandoned barrow crossing, abandoned foot crossing, which clearly was how you used to get between the platforms before the footbridge was put in. But yeah, there's an old barrow crossing. There's still signs, stop, look, listen signs, and there's signs saying, oh, if you're a disabled passenger, we'll have a staff member come and help you get over, so you don't, so you get over, the track's okay. But yeah, it's a cool station, this. The station here was opened in 1849, was rebuilt in 1881, and has had several name changes, including Altrincham and Bowden, with the Bowden dropped in 1974. The former station forecourt in 1975, which by the way had a marvellous canopy, I'll put a picture up, was transformed into a bus and rail interchange, which opened in November 1976 and was majorly redeveloped in 2013-14 with a new building, and that included the new station footbridge, and all these upgrades were finished by December of 2015. There's been several new canopies installed at the station, including on platform 1 in 2006, which cost £180,000 as the old one was deemed unsafe. All 4 platforms though have amazing old canopies which just look fabulous. And if you're ever in the area, give Altrincham station a visit, especially in the summer. I can imagine in the summer it's beautiful rather than at like 4 o'clock when it's starting to go dark in a November cold, wet, wintry day. Just outside the station is Altrincham Clock Tower, which was erected in 1880 and is Grade 2 listed. Altrincham has a population just shy of 50,000 as of 2021. Altrincham is quite a big town, has quite a big town centre with a shopping centre, lots of shops, a cinema, and has several ice rinks. This is the weird thing about Altrincham. It has like 3 ice hockey teams. I think it has like the Manchester Phoenix is like the main ice hockey team in Manchester, but for some reason Altrincham is home to like 3 or 4 ice hockey teams. Dutton Massey Hall lies nearby, which is a National Trust site. I think it's like just south of here, or like a little bit on the outskirts of Altrincham. Altrincham FC currently play in the National League, but they have knocked out league teams more than any other non-league teams, a record 16 times. The town is also home to the only Michelin star restaurant in the whole of Manchester. We're still in Greater Manchester, and Altrincham is home to the one Michelin star restaurant Manchester has to offer. I don't know how Manchester doesn't have more. There's some amazing eateries in Manchester. We need more Michelin stars, please. Well, that was the points changing over for that Berry tram to leave, or for a tram to terminate. I'm not sure which one, but that was cool. But yeah, not too much to say about Altrincham really, apart from all that. There is a train at some point. It's like during like 5 minutes. I think it's quite delayed. So not sure where that is, but yeah, great. What a great station to end at, the best one of the day, I think. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about Altrincham and for the whole video. I've loved this line. I think it's so far my favourite line on the Metrolink, albeit I've only looked at like 2 in full detail, but that's not the point. If you're ever in Manchester, give the Altrincham line a go, especially because of all the old railway history. You've got all the old platforms, all the old infrastructure, and then you've got Metrolink trams running every like 6 minutes, so you can easily get to all of them within like a few hours. But I loved it here, I must say. Altrincham, I think, is my favourite stop. Sale was very nice, very pretty town. Sale, go give Sale a visit. There's like a reservoir and the canals, and it was the town centre was very busy because I had lunch there. And Altrincham so far, I haven't left the station yet, but it seems pretty good. It seems pretty nice. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed the third part of my secrets of the Manchester Metrolink. Do make sure you subscribe if you haven't already liked the video. If you do like, comment anything which I missed or anything which I got wrong, please. I've taken all your comments and I appreciate all the feedback. If you want to help me a bit, help me do these videos, you can become a channel member or Patreon member from as little as 99p a month and get access to exclusive benefits such as access to this video early and all my other videos early before they release to the public, as well as members only videos. Make sure to join my Discord server, check out my Blue Sky and Twitter in the links in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
And of course, a huge thank you to all my YouTube and Patreon members, including first class members Aaron Barry, Crispin McKee and JBNEL, business owned members Andrew Bowen, Anthony James Moore, ARK, Connor Gregg, Clive's Travelling Trains, Daniel Burford, Dave CDF, J Teco, Lewis C21, NJTE, Ollie G, Real, That Transport Girl, Train Life GB, Will Ho and Zach Renfrey, as well as all my standard premium and standard class members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You can join them on this list from as little as £2.99 a month, or become a member from as little as 99p a month. Including your membership includes access to all my videos early, as well as access to exclusive members only videos. Thank you so much, your support means the world to me. Once again, thanks for watching this video. Do check out my Twitter, Blue Sky and Discord server in the links in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.